Hello my friends, we have some of the interesting news coming from the front line. So Ukraine goes on counterattack in Dnipropetrovsk direction, not far away from Zeleny High. You might see two of the attack vectors from 79th Air Assault Brigade and 80th Air Assault Brigade. So Air Assault is full in because 95th Air Assault is also on their attack towards Novosylivka. This map I've took from the Unit Observer Analyst. The link for his media is in the video description right below. And yes, let me show you a different map for you to see the exact location of this hotspot. Here we have the deep state military map, so somewhere in the middle between Gulay-Pole and Pokrovsk there is this place. It's called Zeleny High, Voskresenka, village of Kamar, I think is the biggest here. And even the deep state military map shows the recent advancement of the Ukrainian army towards Vorone and Yanvarske. And if you go back, that's the same map, so this is the village of Vorone, Zeleny High, Komar is somewhere over here. It is just not named, but you understand the idea, so it's Dnipropetrovsk Oblast at the very border with Donetsk. So Ukraine is using very capable forces, air assault brigades, in attempt to get control over more territories. And that's the second attempt of Ukrainian army to get rid of the Russian presence in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast and also push Russians away from Pokrovsk village. The village of Pokrovsk is over here, Pokrovsk, and to the south that's the main defense line of the eastern part of the Zaporizhia region. And here Ukraine is using a very interesting tactics. The Zeleny High direction is very important because it's the division of the areas of responsibility of two main Russian army groups. 90th Guard Tank Division and 29th Russian Army. And of course we know the communication level in the Russian army, so for them to coordinate the efforts at this very border, it's very difficult. So this area here is kind of weak. It's in addition to the kill zone, there is also a gray zone in communication between those Russian armies. Sorry, the army and the tank division, which is just occasionally using tanks. Tank is very rare to see on the front lines nowadays. So there is the problem in coordination of the Russian defense in this sector. Our guys have reported about it. Well, actually there was an attempt of the Russian forces to regain some of the control near Zeleny High over some of the region's territories, but they failed with that, and Ukraine gained more ground, at least propelling in a gray zone. What is interesting that the last year everything was great for Russians in this place. They were gaining village after village, tree line after tree line, but they were blinded with their success. They didn't pay too much attention on defense. Yeah, they occupied some of the Ukrainian trenches, but those trenches were built to protect from the eastern attacks, not from the western ones. Well, they might be used as the defense lines still, but they're not that robust as they could be. So Russians didn't put too much attention on defense. They went mid-wave after mid-wave just in attacks, and they didn't use engineering equipment. That's why Ukraine now is successful, because Russians were caught off guard. They didn't think that Ukraine may reach the drone superiority even on the front lines. For now, it is not just on the front lines. There are middle strikes, long-range strikes, which are more profitable for Ukraine than for Russia. However, with FPV drones right at the front line, Ukraine also has partial advantage. Partial, I mean, because Russia uses more drones actually than Ukraine, I mean small FPV drones, but Ukrainian drones are more technologically advanced. And let me read you one of our officers who comments that. Yeah guys, just a short reminder, don't forget to press your like to this video and subscribe for the channel. It is very important. Let's continue. So, at the tactical level, in use of UAVs, the enemy is currently trying to gain an advantage through sheer numbers. If they really have enough resources, there are many issues with qualified pilots. And when scaling up their UAV units, the quality of the crew drops significantly, and they recruit whoever they can. And I showed you recently the video of one of the Russian drone operators that they really recklessly flying those drones. And here technology, systematic planning and application of the various resources, creative approaches and their development take on primary importance, which is currently being demonstrated quite well at the level of some brigades and most units of the Special Operation Forces of Ukraine. In fact, despite having much more resources, the enemy still cannot surpass us in terms of effectiveness on the battlefield, which forms a positive overall trend. And this trend is pretty much visible on the map, and the good thing here, I mean in Novoselivka and also Zeleny High, that Ukraine already crossed the main border obstacle, and it opens more opportunities for the further advancements, and I believe that there could be even the battle for Kamar this summer. And here's the wider image. This part we already discussed with you. It was on the previous picture where Ukraine counterattacks in two of the directions. One is here, the other one is a little bit north. But this is just a part of the greater offensive operation of the Ukrainian army in Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhia directions. Just remember that in February, Ukraine already performed the successful maneuver pushing Russian forces away from Pokrovsk. The idea was to force Russian troops to penetrate Ukrainian defense lines again and again and to move them away from the main defense line that goes from Pokrovsk to the south. Well, I would say partially this operation was successful. There were attempts of Ukrainian army, and still there are, to advance towards Gulay-Pole, and because Russia keeps Gulay-Pole, they might have some of the bridgehead to advance from it to the nearby villages. Of course, it creates the threat, and I would say it was a mistake of the Ukrainian command of the time, because they left in Gulay-Pole just local territorial defense. They were not that capable to protect the settlement for a long time. And yeah, Gulay-Pole was occupied in a matter of several days. But to get it back, it's not an easy task for Ukraine, especially then the policy of Ukrainian army is to save as many soldiers as possible. Ukraine is not using mid-waves as Russia does. Yeah, sometimes attack operations, they bring losses, that's the usual statistics. In attack, the losses are greater, in defense lower. Ukraine generally stays in defense, but if situation permits, like for example in Dnipropetrovsk direction, why not to counterattack, because in general you may minimize the future possible losses by kicking Russians out from some of the territories. And as I told you, here there is the Center-Vostok boundary, so the boundary between two big Russian army groups, and the coordination between them, it's absent. Or at least it is very terrible, as we know from the practice of the Russian army. The army that even blocks the use of the messengers, Telegram, they even blocked Discord that was used by the Russian drone operators. So Russian army is very strange. And Ukraine is using this unique style of the operation of the Russian army in its own favor. So this is the new direction of Ukrainian counterattack. This one was before. Here Ukraine, I would say, is mostly standstill already, but in northern region near Ivanivka, the operation to get more ground is ongoing. And all of that is possible because Ukraine, with the middle-range strikes, managed to kaput the large amount of the Russian supplies. In the occupied Donetsk region, in the southern regions of Ukraine, even sometimes in the Russian territory. So for Russia, it's just not possible to advance as before with the lack of supplies. That's the physics and the nature of every kind of the war. Even modern-day war with the drones requires supplies, maybe even more supplies, because army operates and fights not just with conventional weaponry as we got used to, but also with drones. Well, drones are also conventional, but something new in armies. Alright, and now let's go to not so good news. They're happening in Kostyantynivka direction, where Russia, with multiple of the small infiltration attacks, managed to after all get into the settlement, into the city itself. Here's the satellite image. You might see the gray area expansion. If we check out Russian maps, and we're gonna check them a little later, they show that almost entire Kostyantynivka is in a gray zone. Well, different analysts are publishing different picture. I trust, well, Deep State, and also I check out Michael 73 analysis. He publishes very up-to-date information based on the actual evidence, for example, drone cameras. And here's his map. You might see multiple of the symbols and the gray area expansion. Here Russians went into the settlement, I would say quite deep. Some of the Russian troops went to the local substation. You may see this is the electrical facility with the building. Well, this building is no more. It was kaboomed by Ukrainian aviation gliding bomb strike. I think that the French gliding bombs were used here. Well, so far, all of the Russian attack attempts are being finished with something, yeah, either Ukrainian drone strike, fiber optic control drone, but those attempts are happening. So small Russian groups are already, I would say, deep in Kostyantynivka. And for sure Russians will occupy Kostyantynivka this year, judging already on this picture. The situation with Kostyantynivka reminds me Pokrovsk. So Pokrovsk was defended by Ukraine for a very, very long time, but after several of the attacks into the settlement, then Russians managed to get to the basements, to the ruined buildings. They start to accumulate their forces and later on move them further and further. It is very difficult to trace them in this urban environment. So on the fields, on the tree lines, you can easily find those Russian soldiers because it's the open space. But then there are some of the obstacles, underground rooms. Yes, it's way more difficult, and Russians may stay at the same positions for a very, very long time. So it's very hard to define that they will leave their positions and move further. Ukraine doesn't have like lots of those surveillance drones flying and monitoring every particular building. That's how Russians are successful. Yeah, they were successful in Pokrovsk after several months, then they entered the settlement. And after several months after they enter Kostyantynivka, they will occupy it. And why do Russians still capable to perform those operations? Because they previously accumulated lots of the reinforcements, especially in Kostyantynivka, and Ukraine, despite its recent success to cut Russian logistics, but it was started just this year. Ukraine expands those middle-range strikes, but it is not enough because Russia has lots of the resources which they're sending to Kostyantynivka direction. Yeah, Ukraine works behind the front lines, also cutting those supply roads, but Russians are already here with their major assault forces and they're trying to occupy Kostyantynivka. I think that after all they could be successful here after several months, but it's the only direction, I would say, where Russia is at least partially successful. Well, in Gulay-Pole also Russia moves, but those attacks are mostly symbolic, where they show some of the Russian flags, but they're not staying at the occupied villages for a very long time. In Kostyantynivka, they may stay there, because they're the places where they might stay. And this is the Russian map. They definitely show the advancement of their small sabotage groups into Kostyantynivka. As you might see, they mainly put it, well, at least half of the settlement or even more to the gray area, gray zone. Well, we understand that all of those attacks are being so far flatlined by Ukraine, so the actual picture is more like what Michael 73 shows, but Russians, well, at least they show some of the Ukrainian counteroffensive actions, also sending reinforcements to Kostyantynivka, and at the same time Ukraine counterattacks towards Nikolaevka. So Mykolaievka, it's very close to Chasiv Yar. By the way, Ukraine still keeps presence in the Chasiv Yar. At least few of the streets are under Ukrainian control or in the gray zone, you may call it. But in Mykolaievka there is the presence of the Ukrainian attacking forces. Also, just a couple of weeks ago, Ukraine tried to counterattack towards Ivanopole, and Ukrainian small attacking forces were spotted there. But now Russia took initiative in Kostyantynivka and they are advancing to the settlement. Well, not as Russians show, but yes, they advance. Well, if we continue to follow those Russian maps, they show that the Ukrainian army counterattacked near Zheleznodorozhny, and for the last 24 hours, Ukraine gained some of the success advancing with a small gray zone. Well, Zheleznodorozhny is on the way to Gulay-Pole, so there is some of the potential of Ukrainian army to go to Gulay-Pole, at least some of the perspective. And also there is the presence of Ukrainian armed forces in Dobropilya. Russians before put the attack vectors here, but now they put their counterattack here, and it seems like they cut Ukrainian forces in Dobropilya. Well, probably not. But you know, I read many of the Russian Z channels, military bloggers, and they say that for them the situation could be difficult in Leman direction, because there Ukraine continued the counteroffensive towards Yampil, and recently Ukraine gathered reinforcements in attempt to cut Russian forces in this forest patch. Well, actually this is kind of the big area, and Russia concentrated few hundred of the troops there. Especially, you know, summertime, lots of the leaves on the trees, so they're using it as some sort of the hub for their supplies and advancement, which is very close to Leman itself. But Ukraine, with this counterattack from Yampil, and it needs to liberate entire Yampil, yes, kind of big settlement. After all, Ukraine may cut the supply road, the railroad as well, and with one more counterattack, it may trap Russian forces and basically create the second Kupiansk for the Russian army, but this time in Yampil. Why is it important? Because there are just limited supply connections for Ukraine. Russia cut those bridges, they do not exist any longer, you see, they're being destroyed by the Russian aviation gliding bombs, and it was the main supply for Leman, which means that there are just two of the roads left, one near Ozerna over here, and it's very close to the Russian positions and of course within the area of the reach by FPV drones. So Ukraine absolutely needs to counterattack to expand the territorial gains to provide at least some of the supplies for Leman settlement. And you see that if Russia operates with their drones here, it means that Ukraine is using those roads and supply connections. But as we see, this is kind of the choke point for Ukraine. The other choke point is not that far away from Darilove or Novoselivka, or let's say Drobyshevo village, so one more road that goes from Yarova, and Russians also try to advance here, but for the last, I would say, couple of months, there is no activity from the Russian army in their small infiltration attacks towards Leman. They operate with drones, yes, but probably they don't have enough infantry forces. And that's why Ukraine is using the time, then Russia is concentrated just on Kostyantynivka direction and partially Gulay Pole, so Ukraine started the counterattack. And Russian military bloggers are saying that without the proper coordination or revise of the use of the forces in Leman, Russia will lose any sort of the perspective to occupy Leman. And you know, guys, I'm very surprised about Leman because I describe you a very terrible situation with Ukrainian supplies here, but Russia is not capable to use even that huge advantage for their army. They're unable to gain success, and moreover, they may lose territories. Their group of the army could be encircled in Yampil. So yeah, this is a very interesting situation for them. Just for now, Russian military bloggers are saying about critical Yampil thing. Well, we'll see. Alright guys, in this update I wanted to show you a detailed picture of what is happening right at the front lines, but in my next video I'm gonna tell you more news about Ukraine and not only. So stand by for the next video, it's gonna be released in a few hours. My friends, please support my job on Patreon, the link for it is in the video description right below, or join membership of YouTube channel by pressing button join, obviously if you can, yes. If not, just press your like and subscribe for the channel, that would be enough. And my friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky, wherever you are, and have a great time. You are awesome.